Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to another video. This is The Informant, and I'm here to bring you some information of this week in review. Now, I know I said I was going to be doing this as a way of wrapping up the week of news that I've been able to notice on the whether it's on the mainstream media, alternative sources of media, stuff like that. All of it, of course, based on facts. Nothing intentionally meant to mislead or misinform anybody. And of course, as usual, I've been slow to actually get that thing started, but I'm hoping that this video going forward can be the start of a consistent approach to this channel. So, without further ado, we're just going to jump right into it, and a lot of this is going to be stuff that's actually a little old, but I'm just finally getting around to covering. So, the number one thing I want to talk about, I'm sure it's on everybody's mind because, well, today is, if you're watching this today, if you're not watching it, if you're watching it past tense or past or after the fact that I've uploaded this, if you're watching this in the future, today is the national observance of our new federal holiday, which is Juneteenth, which is the federal observance of June 19th, when the Union soldiers officially delivered information to slaves across the entire United States back in the end of the Civil War that they were indeed free and no longer slaves. So, sure, that's a wonderful thing to celebrate. Why not? They made it a national, or Biden signed it into law being a federal holiday. There's been, some debate onto why this is not a good idea for whatever reason. Personally, I don't really care. The only thing this holiday does for me is give me a day off because I work in a federal building, so I'm off today. So thanks, I guess. I am interested to hear what anybody else thinks, because I really am so detached from this whole argument that I really don't feel anything. I'm just like, okay, we have another federal holiday, cool. As long as they don't remove like President's Day or something like that, or some other crazy holiday. Now, there was one thing that I did notice. One of the arguments that someone made was the official wording behind this holiday, and it had the word independence in it. And the congressman who was arguing this made it said that this could give the notion that people have to choose which Independence Day to celebrate, and because Juneteenth, and then a few weeks later you have July 4th, which is Independence Day. So it's like, I guess I see that side of the argument, but I don't think that's a valid enough argument to strike down the idea of having Juneteenth be a federal holiday. Then again, I don't know. I don't really know much about this whole argument. All I know is that it's a holiday that, in fact, as you see on screen, has been in the making for quite a while. Trump pledges to make Juneteenth federal holiday and bid for black voters. Now, of course, this, being media, this is phrased in the way that Trump is trying to, persuade African American voters to vote for him because he's going to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. As you can see, this was published September 25th, 2020, very, very ahead of the general election. So this was something that it was part of the Platinum Plan that Donald Trump had put together, that was in conjunction with several prominent black leaders in the country. So whatever your feelings are about that, that's fine. Let me know in the comment section down below. I am open to reading everything. I don't get a lot of comments on this channel because I don't have a lot of subscribers and I don't have a lot of reach, but I'm open to hearing everything. So, with that in mind, that's what I wanted to lead off with because it's simple, straight to the point. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below that. Moving on, this is something that I wanted to talk about. Where is it? Here it is. Get out of here. So this was on the New York Post. This was something I saw. Obviously, this was a week and a half ago. House Republicans slam Biden proposal to send cash to Central America. I wholeheartedly agree with this. This was something that Kamala Harris was saying in her South American tour, saying that she wanted to convince, or not convince, she was working with businesses in America to invest. God, I don't even know how much. It's millions of dollars. It's a ton of money invested into governments in Central America to try and boost, I guess, job creation. I really don't know what the end point is for this, but I think it's an awful idea because, I mean, as Tucker Carlson has pointed out in one of his monologues, just look at other countries we've sent money to over the vast decades and see how they're doing. So this is a terrible idea, and everybody knows that the money never ends up being in the hands of actual citizens. When I was living in Arizona, I was a shift supervisor for a security company. I had an African employee who had just started, and he was from Liberia. He's a very nice guy, and we talked a lot. And this was leading up to the 2016 election, and he told me over and over again that Donald Trump was going to win the election. And at that time, I wasn't really into politics all that much. It wasn't until Trump became president that I really got into politics, mainly for the memes because it was so funny. But then the more and more I listened to him, I was like, wow, this guy's really good, sounds really good. But he kept telling me over and over again that Donald Trump was going to win, and I was like, at first I was shocked. I was like, why do you say that? And he was like, because, man, Hillary Clinton is a crook. I was like, wow, okay. And he went on and on about how her foundation did a ton of quote unquote work in his country and gave millions of dollars to the corrupt president there. And he would have rallies with her, and he would talk about how big of a fan he is of Hillary Clinton, and he was like, yeah, no wonder he's a fan. She keeps lining his pockets with money, and he keeps it all. He never invests anything in the people. He's like, Hillary Clinton is so corrupt, and he makes my country worse. She made my country worse. I was like, holy crap. And that's pretty crazy. And I'm telling you what somebody else told me who was actually from that country, okay? This isn't something I'm just making up. This is a true story. And that's when I started paying attention a little bit. So, side story on this. That was a side story on this whole thing. Basically, this is just going to cause a ton of problems for obvious reasons. You're getting a lot of these countries are in some way, shape, or form tied to corrupt drug cartels. Right here, Vice President Kamala Harris last week during a call with the Guatemalan President Alejandro Giamatti, I think that's his last name, pledged the United States would send $310 million in aid to the Northern Triangle countries. So I find this absolutely astonishing, but at the same time, not all that surprising that this administration would be willing to pledge this much money into other countries while we still have record levels of jobs that need filling, unemployment, businesses that have been destroyed, states that are still under some form of lockdown. I mean, where's the investing in our country to get those businesses potentially back, or to help those business owners that lost everything because of these draconian measures? So you can understand why there's some resentment here in the halls of Congress, and eventually it's going to be with the everyday people. So this was one of the things I wanted to bring up. And let's see, the next thing I wanted to talk about was this. Oh, no, not this. I'm sorry. This. So this was something I saw on Gab. And I completely understand where this user is coming from. So it's here in front of you. So The face when torn between dunking on people who don't want to stand for the pledge or support our troops or back the blue or celebrate 4th of July for being anti-America, but also realizing that the pledge is meaningless, the troops are for state-enforced homosexuality, the police will turn you in for thought crimes, and America's new holidays and heroes hate you. So, a lot to unpack here. Let me start off the bat and say, I get where she's coming from. I do. And I understand the thought process behind this, because I've been there myself. So to kind of start, start at the beginning, stand for the pledge slash national, I'm adding in slash national anthem, I think is important. I mean, it should not be forced. We're not China, we're not North Korea. Everybody has a right to voice their displeasures. And I may hate it when athletes do the same thing, but again, it is their right, I guess. But it doesn't mean I have to like it. There are better ways to go about doing that. Obviously, there is a difference between the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem. The national anthem is more for the survival of this country through the generations, and of course all of the men and women who have given their lives to continue to make this country strive and move forward and grow and build and continue to be the greatest country in the history of the world. And a lot of people miss that. The national anthem was written, I can't remember the name. I'm not going to look it up, so you can dunk on me in the comment section and tell me who wrote it, but the name escapes me right now. But the man who wrote it was on a boat and was watching Washington, D.C. under siege from the British Army during the War of 1812. Again, you can correct my history if I'm wrong, but this is just how, as far as I understand, and DC was in flames, and he wrote the national anthem because, obviously it was just a horrifying sight, but he noticed that atop all of the flames, the one thing that was still there that hadn't burned out was the American flag atop the state capitol, I believe, or the Capitol. Or I could be wrong. I'm taking pot shots here, guys. Don't roast me for my lack of certain historical moments. It's a shame that I can't say it with 100% confidence. But if I'm right, I'm awesome. If I need some correction, I'm all for it. But yeah, and so the national anthem is more than just an anthem for our country. It symbolizes that through all of the war and strife and challenges that we've had to go through, our flag is still there. And that is a symbol of our country. It's like our country is still here. We are still here. We are still breathing. We are still fighting. We are still progressing. And that's really what that's really what the national anthem is about in my eyes. It's more than just a song to, celebrate our country and our military. It's celebrating like the survival of our country and how close we've come to losing it in the past. So that's why it's so important. That's why that song gets so many people emotional. I get emotional. I have never been emotional during the national anthem until the last few years, and I don't know what it is. It's just something has changed. You see that video of all the hockey fans in New York City, I believe, of all those fans in unison singing the national anthem together. Doesn't matter who, all of them singing together. Doesn't matter who they are, what side of the political aisle they're on. They were all there singing, and it was even better that the singer stopped singing and just let everybody sing the lyrics, and then she started singing without the mic along with them, and then she did, of course, the triumphant end with her voice. And you see stuff like that, and that's truly what this country's all about. Now, that's getting a little off topic here, but So back the blue and celebrate 4th of July banner. But also, okay, so the pledge is meaningless. Okay, so the Pledge of Allegiance is meaningless. I get where they're coming from. All of us remember, and when I say all of us, I mean us like 30 plus remember, being in school. If someone didn't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, it was kind of like, whoa, are you like anti-American? What's wrong with you? So yeah, that can kind of get a little radical at times. And but I think pledge, you can quote me don't quote me on this, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But in my eyes, and what I believe is like, I feel like the Pledge of Allegiance was like more of like a pledge to America and not communism, like the Soviet Union or, whatever other authoritarian Marxist ideology there is in the world. I felt like it was a way to keep the children dedicated to America and America first, and not Marxism and communism and socialism and stuff like that. That was clearly being pushed back in during the Cold War. I think one of the more prominent documentaries I can recommend is A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, and it was a documentary about the rise of communist propagandists in Chicago during like the very, very beginning of the Cold War. It was like right after World War II, and how they were able to organize and get people like on the streets of Chicago like interested in communism and socialism. And it's an eye-opener. It really is. And it kind of shows you how these big cities went from being like American cities to more like left-leaning, communist-leaning, socialist-leaning cities, and how their power has been corrupted over the decades. So I understand the pledge, like on face value, is meaningless. I get that argument, but there is a deeper meaning behind it. Of course, this being a free country, children shouldn't be punished for not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance or something like that. I don't think. I could be wrong. If you think I'm wrong and would like to point it out and explain why, I'm again perfectly open for that. The troops are for state-enforced homosexuality. The police will turn you in for thought crimes, and America's new holidays and heroes hate you. So this part I totally understand. This kind of goes into the fact of that all of these institutions under the new administration are completely and wholeheartedly embracing this new wokeist ideology, globalist ideology, all this other stuff. And I get it. I have a problem. Excuse me. I have a problem with all that stuff myself. But here's where I tend to disagree a little bit. As a whole, if you collectivize them as a whole, yes, it's easy to put them all in a basket and say these people are awful and they hate us, they're pushing everything anti-American, they're willing to lock us up for things that aren't even really crimes, and these new wave of quote-unquote leaders in our country hate people like us. But when you break it down to the way it's supposed to be broken down, and I think when it comes to all groups like this, separate from group identity and break it down to the individual. On an individual level, I know for a fact that there are still troops within the military, leaders, officers within the military, police within our community, states and communities and cities, and elected officials. I'm holding on to this until I am, like, without a shadow of a doubt, proven wrong. And don't get me, like, I get it. There probably is a lot of evidence to try and prove me wrong here. But I believe on an individual level, there are still enough people who are America first, who believe in the American spirit, who believe in the people, who believe in all of this, that still want to see this country survive. And I think we're at a point, an inflection point, where there's going to be enough pressure and enough divide that eventually all of these levels of power are going to fracture, just like they did in the Civil War. And I'm not one to sit here and pound the drum like, Tim the fence sitter Pool and talk about Civil War over and over and over again to get views. I mean, let's just face it. Every single time I've ever watched one of Tim Pool's videos that says Civil War in the title, it's always been like something like really, really shallow. I'm just like, okay, this isn't anything new. And it was clearly like a click inducer. So, but the on the individual level, like I said, there's going to be a point where it fractures, and you're going to have troops and officers and generals and admirals who are on the side of America, who are on the side of everyday patriots and everyday Americans, on the side of protecting our country, protecting our borders, on the side of saying no to globalism and Marxism and this new woke. It's like a religion at this point. It's because it's idolized so much. They say no to that, and they say enough's enough. And then the other side is like, well, then you're no longer in charge. We are. And the rest of them say, okay, we're going to fight you over this. The same thing is going to happen to the police. I believe that there are enough police officers and enough police leaders, like captains and chiefs and sheriffs in this country, that are America first, that are on the side of the people, that want to protect the people and their rights from the federal government. I mean, you see it now with all the states giving a big FU to the Fed and saying that we are rejecting all federal overreach when it comes to gun enforcement. We're enacting open carry to all our citizens. They will be on the side of us, and then there's going to be a fraction there where it goes to two sides. Same things for these new American heroes. I'm guessing these people are like, I guess, the wokeists that are promoted on mainstream media, and of course there are these elected officials that are absolutely out of their minds. Well, that's true. But let's face it, there have been politicians like this for decades. I mean, it's nothing new. It's just this information spreads a lot faster because of technology. So they're all out in the open. But the thing is that now that they have a good majority of people in the government, they don't have to hide it anymore. And they know that they have enough indoctrinated people to just follow them blindly wherever they go. As Yuri Bezmenov would say, the useful idiots. So, I believe that while on the surface, what this user is saying is true, when you break it down, especially to an individual level, I believe there's more to it than that. And, like I said, I'm not one to sit here and pound the drum of Civil War, but you're seeing more and more on a local level. I mean, here where I live, in my state, which is Virginia, you're seeing it on a local level just with frickin' schools, man. The amount of heated arguments and debates about just what's being taught in schools, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I agree with the protest of what's being taught in schools. I agree with the pushback on this. But I mean, just the amount of vitriol that these decent people, these decent everyday citizens that just want what's best for their children, are getting for daring to question, you dare question the state, like, it's like, it baffles the mind that there's this huge, deep, like Mariana Trench divide between these people, and it's just over what's being taught in school. I mean, wait till you get to the top when it comes to America's fundamental vision and ideology and constitution, and on a government and military level. I mean, that's when it's really going to get serious. So, and you're already seeing it now with command posts being refilled, people being demoted. I mean, how about that? Space Force, he was a lieutenant, I believe, or colonel of or captain of an air wing. That's what he was. And he was fired because he was like, screw this Marxist ideology. And they're like, fine, you're fired. Get out of here. And it's just, it's unbelievable. But this is just the beginning. But the only way it happens is if there's enough people in these institutions that are united enough to come together and say, no, we're going to stop this, or we're going to be on the right side of history and fight for this. So that was a good chunk of the video, was that little dialogue there. Let me see. Let me look at my list here. Oh, yes. So Vax... I don't want to say something that's going to get me booted off of YouTube. The group of chemicals in order for you to be protected against unknown free radicals in the world, if you can pick up on that, is, in my opinion, causing new discrimination. Ones who've had it, who've had their dose, and those who haven't had their dose. And the ones who haven't had their dose are the ones who are being shamed and ridiculed and purposely excluded from ordinary life. Now, I can say this on a personal level. So my fiance recently was in a group chat with her friends, and one of the friends in the chat was wanting to gather a bunch of people for a get-together. And they wanted to do something over the summer, like get together. They wanted to go somewhere. They wanted to all meet somewhere because it had been forever. And, you know, it has been forever. It's been over a year. And they wanted, since, you know, restrictions are being lifted in this area, and they all just wanted to do something. And another one of her friends, which is one of her closest friends, which is what made my fiance very upset. One of her closest friends happened to just reply, because everybody was all for it, just happened to reply with, "Oh, as long as everyone's got their dose." And, you know, I've made it very clear to my fiance that I have no intention of doing that. And she got very upset. Well, she's not upset about my decision. She wholeheartedly supports my decision. But she's upset because she's like, well, I don't want to have to go hang out with my friends that bring all of their, you know, partners, and I can't bring you, you know, because, you know, you're, you know, you get it. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, I get it, but I'm not going to change. And, you know, she's even debated on just straight up lying and just saying, oh yeah, he's been, you know, he's had his correct amount given to him, you know. So that's one thing that I'm currently living through, is this whole new level of discrimination, you know. And it really is mind-blowing. And I'm just, it really kind of freaks me out. It's like, but we're seeing this all over the place on all levels of life, not just with interpersonal lives, but like state lives, like state livelihood for certain people. It's like you can't do certain things, you can't go certain places. Businesses are going to actively discriminate against people. And again, like all of this stuff, I really don't want to believe this will happen, but I mean, it kind of moves closer and closer to actual vaccine passports, vaccine documentation, and like proof, you know, having to show all of that in order to do certain things. And, you know, it makes me very, very concerned. Like, I feel kind of at risk saying this, but I don't care, because I feel like people need to know. This is not only happening like on regular business levels, but this is happening like at my job too. Now, of course, as of now, the federal government cannot mandate anybody to get the vaccine. All of that can be undone at the stroke of a pen by Biden. He's fully willing to do that because he already has the mask mandate in place for anybody on federal grounds or in federal buildings to be wear a mask. Except, if you've had your dose, now you can take it off. But one of the emails that I've seen was a broadcast email, and it was to a support team that writes broadcast emails from the secretary's office. And they said, could you guys come up with an email that shows the support or shows the benefits of getting your dose, your personal experiences of getting the dose, any kind of side effects. Basically, the email was supposed to be written in a way to encourage, or I guess some people might even say persuade, all employees to go and get their dose. To me, that doesn't sound like something that should be happening. So, and the good thing is, I'm not a Fed, I'm a contractor, and it's not even really like a big position. It's very, very, when I say, everybody, when they hear government contractor, they think, big bucks. Not really. I don't get paid as much as people think I get paid. I wish I did, but I don't. But my boss, he's all like, he's like, they better not force us to get it because I don't want to get it. It's like, okay, good. We're on the same page. But I even told him, I said, look, man, that's my line. I'm willing to do all this other crap just so I can work. But the moment that comes down the pipe, I'm drawing my line. I'm not doing it. And he understood. He says he didn't want to do it either. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But moving on. The last thing I want to talk about is, and this could be, I know I kind of went on a monologue about this, the Gab screenshot you see in front of you. The next thing I want to do was talk about this whole Trump social media battle. So I've seen this over and over and over again from YouTubers who only read headlines and don't actually look into certain things. How Trump could have fixed this if he just would have repealed Section 230, if he would have just revamped Section 230, if he would have just signed an executive order to do this. Look, I understand your frustration. Here's my customer service background coming up. I understand your frustration. But let's be real here. So people who only read the headlines and watch the sound clips of Republicans, berating social media tech giants in the halls of Congress, don't hear the fine details and the actual arguments being made in there from Democrats. Let me tell you something. I've watched those things. I've listened to the Democrats' side of things in the halls of Congress when they actually speak to these people. Speak to the Zuckerberg and Dorsey and I don't remember the guy's name, but from Google. The Democrats always, with their line of questioning, lead with a statement saying how the Republican, the conservative censorship and conservatives being targeted. We all know that that's just a conspiracy theory and you don't actually do that. So why don't you explain to us the actual measures you do when it comes to your terms of service? That's how they form the question, okay? They put it out there as everything that they just said is a lie, so why don't you just tell us how it really works? That's why, it really irritates me. Everybody said that Trump, all he had to do was sign this, do that, make this, and it would have been okay. Okay, you're talking about having the president sign an executive order that mandates, that orders private companies not to do certain things. Federal overreach, anyone? Lack of a free market capitalist society? Would you like that to be? Would you really want that to be mandated and have influence from the federal government on how these tech giants are to be, how to run their business? Because Trump's not a king. Republicans aren't in power forever. Just imagine if something like that were to happen and the Democrats take over, and well, they've already taken over, and they want to, and they just decided to rewrite those laws and make it even worse, a bigger nightmare than you already live in. And on top of that, if he had done something like that, the Democrats and even Republicans would be up in arms over it. They would say he's acting like a tyrant, he's acting like a king, he's dictating what these private companies can and can't do on their own platforms. I get it, okay? I understand your frustration, but that would have been a whole other can of worms. And hell, the Democrats probably would have found another way to impeach him again over that, okay? So the reason why, same with everything else that he was trying to do, trying to build the wall, trying to work Obamacare, trying to work immigration laws. He was doing it the way he was supposed to, through the courts, through the halls of Congress, pushing representatives to write up these new bills, to try and get them heard on the Senate floor and passed into law. He did it the right way. Unfortunately, and this is where I give credit to some of those YouTubers, Ted Cruz, Jim Jordan, all these people, great at yelling at these tech giants like they're their children making a mistake, and then they just go back to their rooms and keep playing with their gadgets. That's all they did. That part I understand. Trump had nothing to do with it. He pushed them and pushed them and pushed them while working on like a million other things, mind you. You know, he's got other things to do. It's the whole reason why we have a Congress, is so that way they can focus on certain things while the president works on other things. So it's not his fault. Sure, he can complain. Sure, him complaining about it, it's all like on the surface. Again, on the surface, you can be like, well, you didn't do anything. Well, when you actually look into the fine frickin' details for once, instead of just reading headlines and hearing, hot takes on, 3-minute YouTube clips, you understand the fact that he couldn't just sign a pen and make it all go away. How about everybody pointing at Biden on his first day, acting like a dictator, signing all these things into law without any oversight, without any debate, without any type of conversation on the Senate floor? Oh, all of a sudden he's a tyrant. Well, I agree with you. That's why Trump didn't do it. He was already getting called that enough by some of the things he wanted to do on a legal basis when it came to pushing new bills. So enough of this whole he didn't do anything, he didn't protect free speech. It's like, I get it. Maybe he didn't push hard enough, but he tried. It's the senators who didn't move on this. These old dinosaurs like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, these people have been there for decades that have no idea how the world actually works around outside of their own bubble. These are the people who are in charge and who didn't do a goddamn thing, okay? So, enough of that. Let's just drop that and move on, okay? It's the whole weight of the world's problems doesn't fall on the president. A good portion of it does, but not all of it. All right, that is actually everything I wanted to cover in this week's review. Of course, you can yell at me, disagree with me, agree with me, be in the middle, be sideways, side to side, upside down, levitating over the ground. Any area or any opinion you wish to have, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm sure I angered a lot of people with that. I'm going to be called all sorts of names, but I'm open to any and all suggestions and ideas. So with that being said, hope everyone enjoys the weekend. Take care, and I'll see you all next week.